Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Dena. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Praja Nirvishesha Shanyavadi Pashata Desha. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Praja Nirvishesha Shanyavadi Pashata Desha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Jaya Radha Natvar Radha Natvar Radhe Jaya Radha Natvar Radha Natvar Radhe Jaya Radha Natvar Radha Natvar Radhe Radha Natvar Radha Natvar Radhe Jaya Nitai Gaurango, Nitai Gaurango, Nitai Gaurango, Jaya 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 Nitai Gaurango. Nitai Gaurango Jaya Nitai Gaurango Nitai Gaurango Jaya Nitai Gaurango Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna, do we have to Yashomadhi Nandan to be sung now or later?
We can sing it now. I think it's Abhishek's turn, I think. I can sing it.
Now, Prabhu, you said that?
I don't know whose turn it is, but I'll sing it.
I'm supposed to be singing that.
Okay, yeah, so then go ahead, sing it.
Yashomati Nandana Brajabaranagara Gokula Ranjana Kana Yashomati Nandana Brajabaranagara Gokula Ranjana Kana Gopi Paranadana Madana Manohara Gopi Paranadana Madana Manohara Kaliya Damana Vidana Kaliya Damana Vidana Amal Harinam Amiya Vilasa Amal Harinam Amiya Vilasa Vipina Purandara Navina Nagarabora Vamsi Vadana Suvasa Vipina Purandara Navina Nagarabora Vamsi Vadana Suvasa Rajajana Palana Asura Kulanasana Rajajana Palana Asura Kulanasana Nanda Godhana Rakovala Nanda Godhana Rakhovala Govinda Madhava Navanita Tashkara Govinda Madhava Navanita Tashkara Sundarananda Gopala Sundarananda Gopala Jamuna Tatachara Gopi Vasanahara Rasa Rasika Kripamoya Jamuna Tatachara Gopi Vasanahara Rasa Rasika Kripamoya Shri Radha Vallabha Vrindavana Natavara Shri Radha Vallabha Vrindavana Natavara Bhakti Vinoda Shraya Bhakti Vinoda Shraya Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Jaya Radha Natavara Radhe Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Lord Krishna is the beloved son of Mother Yashoda, the transcendental lover in the land of Vraja, the delight of Gokula, the wealth of the lives of the gopis. He steals the mind of even Cupid and punishes the Kaliya serpent. These pure holy names of Lord Hari are full of sweet nectarian pastimes. Krishna is the Lord of the 12 forests of Vraja. He is ever youthful and he is the best of lovers. He is always playing on a flute and he is an excellent dresser. Krishna is the protector of the inhabitants of Vraja, the destroyer of various demoniac dynasties, the keeper and tender of Nanda Maharaja's cows, the giver of pleasure to the cows, land, and the spiritual senses, the husband of goddess of fortune, the butter thief, and the beautiful cowherd boy of Nanda Maharaj. Krishna wanders along the banks of river Yamuna. He stole the garments of young damsels of Vraja who are bathing there. He delights in the mellows of the Rasa dance. He is very merciful, the lover and beloved of Srimati Radharani, the great dancer of Vrindavana, the shelter and only refuge of Thakura Bhakti Lord. Shri Radha Natwara Bhagavana ki jai, Krishna Prabhupada ki jai, Sai Gaura Premanande.
Hey, Krishna Maharaj, the sharing is enabled, so you should be able to go ahead and share screen if you need to.
Okay.
Yeah.
We are opening our camera and everything.
Okay.
Let's see.
Do you see Coco?
Okay. You can hear us, no?
Yes, Maharaj, we can.
Okay, that's your misfortune. Okay, here we go. Share screen. So we're continuing with the same adventure. Krishna enters. Where does Krishna enter? Krishna enters. Why not? Mathura. Everybody's traveling. Dr. Desai is traveling. You've all gone to Chicago. So here, Krishna is traveling. And we should all take it the same way. You know, so many spiritual things are happening. You know, If we don't find spiritual things happening in our own life, it's probably because we're not spiritual. we're on the surface of things. So Krishna was convinced he had to do his duty to his family. He left with Akrura from Mathura. And after they entered Mathura, they saw it was a very wonderful place. And he met with Nanda Maharaj and the cowherd boys who'd come through the forest and got there quicker. And then Akrura asked him very, very nicely to please come and visit my home. and hearing his plea, it says right here, on hearing this, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna replied, Akrura, I shall surely come to your home with my elder brother Balaram, which is Guru, which is even nicer because Krishna and Guru together, but only after killing all the demons who are envious of the Yadu dynasty. Only after killing all the demons who are envious of the Yadu dynasty. Okay. That's interesting. Why did he make that arrangement? In this way, I shall please all my relatives. So Akrura seems to us to be a very, very interesting person. He's kind of mixed up with different things. He didn't deal properly with the Brajabasis and got reactions from that. He's a very, very pure devotee. He's very famous for his prayers. One of the example of somebody achieving perfection by reciting prayers. So he's a very interesting person that we can see how Krishna is dealing with him and maybe how we can also adjust our life more and more to deal with Krishna properly. But Kuru became a little disappointed by these words of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he could not disregard the order. He therefore entered Mathura, informed Kamsa about the arrival of Krishna, and then he entered his own home. Of course, Akrura is a very, very great personality. He's on the he was the commander in chief of Maharaj Ugrasen's army. He could talk to Dhritarashtra, all the Pandavas on a peer level. So when he went and talked to Kamsa, it must have been quite an unusual circumstance. I brought them here. Okay. After Akrura's departure, Lord Krishna and Balaram and the cowherd boys entered the city of Mathura to see it. They observed the gate of Mathura was made of first-class marble, very well constructed. The doors were made of pure gold. There were orchards, gorgeous orchards, and gardens all around. And the whole city was encircled by canals so that no enemy could enter very easily. They also saw the crossroads were decorated with gold, and that there were copper and brass as storehouses for stocking grain. My goodness. It is all being imagined. It seems way beyond anybody's imagination. And there were many rich men's houses appearing symmetrically as if constructed by one engineer using pine 2x4s and sheetrock and linoleum floors. Doesn't sound like it. Oh, here it says, the houses were decorated with costly jewels. And each and every house had nice compounds of trees bearing fruits and flowers. The corridors and verandas of the houses, corridors and verandas, were decorated with silk cloth and embroidery work in jewels and pearls. On the front of the balcony windows were pigeons and peacocks walking and cooing. All the grain dealers within the city were grain dealers' shops within the city were decorated with different kinds of flowers and garlands, newly grown grass, and pleasing flowers like narcissus and roses. The entrance doors of the houses were decorated with water pots filled with water. A mixture of water, yogurt, sandalwood pulp, and flowers were sprinkled all around the doors, which were also decorated with burning lamps of different sizes. All over the doors were decorations of fresh mango leaves and silk festoons. When the news spread that Krishna and Balaram and the cowherd boys were within Mathura city, all the inhabitants gathered, and the ladies and girls immediately went up to the roof of the houses to see them. They had been awaiting the arrival of Krishna and Balaram with great anxiety, and in their extreme eagerness to see Krishna and Balaram, the ladies did not dress themselves very properly. Some of them placed their clothes in the wrong place. Some were anointed their eyes on one side only, and some wore ankle bells only on one leg, or wore only one earring. Thus, in great haste, not even decorated properly, they went to see Krishna from the roofs. Some of them had been taking their lunch, but as soon as they heard that Krishna and Balaram were in the city, they left their eating and ran to the roofs. Some of them were in the bathroom taking their baths, but without properly finishing their baths, they went to see Krishna and Balaram. Some were engaged in feeding their children breast milk, but they put their babies aside and went to see Krishna and Balaram, passing by very slowly and smiling. Look, Krishna immediately stole their hearts. He who is the husband of the goddess of fortune passed through the streets like an elephant. For a very, very long time, the women of Mathura had heard about Krishna and Balaram and their uncommon characteristics, and they were very much attracted and eager to see them. Now, when they actually saw Krishna and Balaram passing on the street and saw them sweetly smiling, the ladies' joy reached the point of ecstasy. When they actually saw them with their eyes, they took Krishna and Balaram within their hearts and began to embrace them to their fullest desire. Their bodily hairs stood up in ecstasy. They had heard of Krishna, but they had never seen him. Now their longing was relieved. After going up on the roofs of the palaces of Mathura, the ladies, their faces joyful, began to shower flowers upon Krishna and Balaram. When the brothers were passing through the streets, all the brahmanas in the neighborhood went out with sandalwood water and flowers and respectfully welcomed them to the city. All the residents of Mathura began to talk amongst themselves about the elevated and pious activities of the people of Vrindavan. The residents of Mathura were surprised at the pious activities of the cowherd men in Vrindavan must have performed in their previous lives to be able to see Krishna and Balaram daily as cowherd boys. Wow. Yeah. You've got to be very, very sensitive to be able to experience that. Otherwise, it just passes by like something you don't notice. Yeah. When Krishna and Balaram were passing in this way, they saw a washerman, okay, and a dyer of clothing. So all these people are very archetypal. Krishna was very pleased to ask him for some nice clothing. He also promised that if the washerman would deliver the nicest dyed cloth to him, the washerman would become very happy, and all good fortune would be his. Krishna was not a beggar, nor was he in need of clothing. But by his request, he indicated that everyone should be ready to offer Krishna whatever he wants. That is the meaning of Krishna consciousness. Unfortunately, this washerman was a servant of Kamsa, and therefore could not appreciate the demand of Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the effect of bad association. He could have immediately delivered the clothing to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who promised him all good fortune, but being a servant of Kamsa, the sinful demon could not accept the offer. Instead of being pleased, he was very angry and refused the Lord's request, saying, "How is it that you are asking for clothing which is meant for the king?" The washerman then began to instruct Krishna and Balaram, "My dear boys, in the future, do not be so impudent as to ask for things which belong to the king. Otherwise, you will be punished by the government men. They will arrest you and punish you, and you will be in difficulty. I have practical experience of this fact. Anyone who unlawfully wants to use the king's property is very severely punished." On hearing this, Lord Krishna, the son of Devaki, became very angry at the washerman, and striking him with the upper portion of his hand, I guess just the fingers, he separated the man's head from his body. It's kung fu. The worshipman fell down dead on the ground. In this way, Lord Krishna confirmed the statement of Brahma Samhita that every limb of his body is capable of doing everything he likes. Without a sword, but simply by his hand, he cut off the head of the washerman. This is proof that the Supreme Lord is omnipotent, omnipotent. If he wants to do something, he can do it without extraneous help. After this ghastly incident, the employees of the washerman immediately dispersed, leaving the clothing. Krishna and Balaram, leaving the clothing. Oh yeah, okay. The employees left. Krishna and Balaram took possession of it and dressed according to their choice. The rest of the clothes were offered to the cowherd boys, who also used them as they desired. What they could not use remained there. Krishna and Balaram and the boys then proceeded along the main road. In the meantime, a devotee tailor took the opportunity of service and prepared some nice clothes from the cloth for Krishna and Balaram. Thus, being very nicely attired, Krishna and Balaram looked like elephants, dressed with colored clothing on the full moon day or the dark moon day. Krishna was very much pleased with the tailor and gave him the benediction of Sarupya Mukti, which means that after leaving his body, he would be liberated and would attain a four-handed body, exactly like that of Lord Narayana in Vaikuntha. Krishna also granted him that as long as he would live, he would earn sufficient opulence to be able to enjoy sense gratification. My goodness. So it's kind of a, what was it? Not really, he didn't allow him to go to Goloka and sense gratification. Okay, gratifying the senses as tools, but beyond that, it means we're missing the real opportunity of gratifying Krishna's senses. By this incident, Krishna proved that those who are Krishna conscious devotees will not be lacking material enjoyment of sense gratification. They will also have sufficient opportunity for such things. But after leaving this body, they will be allowed to enter the spiritual planets of Vaikuntha Loka or Krishna Loka, Goloka Vrindavan. After dressing very nicely, Krishna and Balaram went to a florist of the name Sudama. As soon as they reached the precinct of his house, the florist immediately came out and with great devotion fell down on his face to offer his respectful obeisances. He offered a nice seat to Krishna and Balaram and asked his assistant to bring out flowers, betel nuts, and the pulp of chandan. The florist welcomed, greatly satisfied the Lord. The florist very humbly and submissively offered his prayers to the Lord, saying, "My dear Lord, because you have come to my place, I think all my forefathers and all my worshipable superiors are pleased and delivered. So what if Krishna came to our place?" So say right here, knock on the door. Yeah. And what kind of reception could I offer him? Yeah. And what if he came to your place? Knock on the door. Okay. Yeah. So what do we have to offer him? Well, at least water. Abhishek gave us a little carbon water filter, which works very nice. So we could have him some nice water. We have a few cups, matching metal cups. We have some different boga. This is Desai gave us six big bananas ripe today, and even with many monkeys we couldn't finish, and so we peeled them and mashed them up and put them in a container and put them in the refrigerator. So now they freeze, and then you can take them out and cut them into pieces. So those would be very, very nice to offer to Krishna and Balaram. Yeah. Okay, you have appeared. I think all my worshipable superiors and forefathers are pleased and delivered. My dear Lord, you are the supreme cause of all causes of this cosmic manifestation, but for the benefit of the residents of this earthly planet, you have appeared with your plenary portion to give protection to your devotees and annihilate the demons. You are equally disposed as the friend of all living entities. You are the super soul. You do not discriminate between friends and enemies. You are pleased to give your devotees the special results of their devotional activities. My Lord, I am praying that you please tell me whatever you wish me to do, because I am your eternal servant. If you would order me to do something, it would be a great favor to me. The florist Sudama was greatly pleased within his heart by seeing Krishna and Balaram in his place. And thus, as his choicest desire, he made 2 exquisite garlands of various flowers and presented them to the Lord. Krishna and Balaram were very pleased with this sincere service, and Krishna offered the florist his salutations and benedictions, which he is always prepared to bestow upon the surrendered souls. When the florist was offered benedictions, he begged from the Lord that he might remain his eternal servant in devotional service, and by such service do good to all living creatures. By this it is clear that a devotee of the Lord in Krishna consciousness should not be satisfied simply by his own advancement in devotional service. He must be willing to work for the welfare of all others. This example was followed by the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. It is therefore stated in a prayer about them, Lokanam hitakarano tribhuvane manyo saranyakaro. Vaishnavas, or devotees of the Lord, are not selfish. Whatever benefits they derive from the Supreme Personality of Godhead as benedictions, they want to distribute to all other persons. That is the greatest of all humanitarian activities. Being satisfied with the florist, Lord Krishna not only gave him whatever benedictions he wanted, but over and above that, he offered him all material opulences, family prosperity, a long duration of life, and whatever else his heart desired within the material world. Thus says the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 41st chapter, Krishna of Krishna enters Mathura. And so later we can always hear about what he did once he arrived in that city. So, I'm an insignificant person. Yeah, but we're representing Krishna and Balaram. So what amazing things can we do when we come to other cities? I have one family of disciples was what his name. He was from Cuba, and he spoke Russian. So when the Russians were in Cuba, he was translating from Russian to Spanish for them. Very intelligent person, very nice. And so he married a very nice girl in Spain. They had nice children. And I told him, you should go to the mayor of Madrid and just tell him with your family and say this, this is what we're trying to do. Yeah. Just tell him what you actually believe and experience, and see if you can get any help from the mayor of Madrid to help push on this movement. And at first he thought, well, that's impossible. Yeah. But then no, talking about it, and he said, well, I can do that. I can do that, and just be honest and see if they want to help. So he went there, and the mayor of Madrid, who was a lady, they went to the office, and other people were there, and many people, of course, she was very busy. But then the arrangement was made for him to talk to another lady who was, head of some department like that. And they were very pleased, very kind of enchanted to hear about the devotees and see the family and ask what we were doing. Well, I know a little bit about you, but please tell me more. And it was a very, very nice meeting. And she said, we have several churches, very nice churches, Christian churches that are just, not being maintained because there's not enough Christians. So if your society would like to take over one of those, we could offer you one of those. And that's about it, as far as it went. But whenever we're traveling, going someplace, who knows who we're going to meet on the trip? It says that great souls, they travel to places of pilgrimage, and enlightened people they meet along the way. So just by our comportment, just by our smile, or to speak of our Krishna Katha, we're enlightening people, changing their character. So, any comments about Krishna and Balaram entering Mathura, or anybody else entering Chicago, like that? Yeah. Somewhere in the distance, a dog howled. Om Namo Namo Bhagavate. Mr. Sharon's rubbing his nose at me. Wants to fight. Mr. Charan, why is this big blank wall behind you? There should be a mural there, right? Give up this false business and become a famous muralist.
Yeah, I got some painting up there.
Oh, okay, a tiny thing.
Oh, yeah, that's a picture.
We went walking along the river today with your who is that?
Oh,
Your father.
yeah.
And Dr. Desai. And under the bridges there, they got big painted out areas where graffiti was going, but all these places are open for murals, very attractive murals. I mean, even in Manipur, we in the United States put a tremendous amount of money into military activities. I think 45% of all the world's military expenses come from the United States of America. And after that, I think comes Russia with 11% and China with 9%. So with the same money put into art, culture, then people become satisfied. These pastimes of Krishna. So I guess maybe we'll finish here. If we have any comments,
Yeah, I have a comment, Maharaj. So Krishna looks like he gives opulence to his devotees who are serving him, just like he did to the florist, and also Dhruv Maharaj, and also Prahlad Maharaj. But I think, but the devotees know that their shelter is actually Krishna, not these material opulences. Their shelter is actually Krishna. They're not attached to these material opulences.
yeah.
Right? So that comes with it, right? So this way, they're not. I mean, the problem with these material opulences is if you get too attracted to them, then you forget about Krishna.
Yeah, it's like you're giving your children pictures of apples, and not giving them real apples. So having all kinds of material opulence, it's just like, it's a reflection of real opulence. Real opulence is to please Krishna's senses, and then we see that reaction. Oh, that's a lot more delightful than pleasing these dull, reflected senses. So again, this is Mathura. Krishna's coming down from Vrindavan and entering Mathura. So maybe our consciousness is Mathura Vasi consciousness. And after many lifetimes, maybe now we get an opportunity, to experience Braja consciousness. Prabhupada says most people did not know about Krishna's pastimes when he was there. He said some of the yadus, and the dancers of Braja, they knew. But most people, they thought he was Vasudev and the Paramatma, and these kind of things.
I thought Rukmani knew what Krishna's pastime. That's why she was so attracted to him.
Mother Yashoda, who was it? Kunti, when she describes, right, Yashoda's activities, she says, "I'm just bewildered by this. You're God." And she's chasing you around the house with a stick, like a little child. You're running. You're really afraid. Who are you? So I think there's a story, Shiva Maharaj has it, that one time all the gopis came to bathe in one kunda in Dwarka because it would allow Radharani to meet Krishna again. So all the queens came out to see them. And then when they saw that their devotion to Krishna, they were just, Satyabhama was a little proud, we also love Krishna. When they saw their devotion, they were just like stunned, shocked. The difference between the love that the queens have for Krishna and the love the gopis have. Okay, so thank you all very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hey, Krishna Maharaj. Let's see. Amit Bhaiya, are the girls available to sing their prayer? Unless there's questions from Raj. More questions after Vivek Bhaiya's. Or comments, yeah, as Maharaj said. Anybody? Anybody? Okay, I guess then Amit Bhaiya, if the girls are available, they can take it away.
Namaste Narasingaya. Namaste Narasingaya. Praladena Tetaine. Praladena Tetaine. Hiranyakashipurvaksha. Hiranyakashipurvaksha. Shrilatankanakalaye. Shrilatankanakalaye. Ito Narasimha Parato Narasimha. Ito Narasimha Parato Narasimha. Yato yato yami tato Narasimha. Yato yato yami tato Narasimha. Twahi Narasimha Rindaye Narasimha. Twahi Narasimha Rindaye Narasimha. Narasimha Madim Sharanam Prapade. Narasimha Madim Sharanam Prapade. Tava Kari Kamala Pare Nakamadhuta Shingam. Lalita Hiranyakashipu Tanubringam. Keshavadita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Tava Kare Kamala Pare Nakamadhuta Shingam. Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanubringam. Keshavarita Narari Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Jaya Narasimha Dev, 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 Jaya Narasimha Dev. Jaya Pralamara, 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 Jaya Pralamara. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Narasimha Bhagwan ki jai. Hare Krishna, Hare Bol, Hare Bol.
Okay. We'll do a
Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhuev cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Sorry, everyone, I got distracted quickly, but please keep my mommy and all the devotees, Bibi Govinda Maharaj, and all the devotees in India in your prayers, please. Thank you. Hare Krishna. See you tomorrow, 8 p.m. Thank you. Hare